He had the looks, the name, and the spotlight. But behind the flashing cameras and celebrity flings, Calum Best was spiraling. Fast. The son of a football legend, he grew up in the shadow of fame and addiction. And then made headlines for all the wrong reasons himself, from partying with Hollywood stars to being accused of fathering a secret child. From public meltdowns to shocking courtroom drama. And now, he claims he's changed. A businessman, a mentor, a new man, but has Calum Best really turned his life around? Or is this just the calm before another storm? Calum Best never had a normal childhood. How could he? His dad was George Best, one of football's greatest icons, and one of Britain's most infamous alcoholics. While other kids were riding bikes, Calum was watching his father fight demons, in front of the whole world. He was a Nepo baby before anyone knew what that meant. But instead of giving him an easy start, fame became a curse. At just 21, Calum caught his father drinking again, after a liver transplant. The betrayal was brutal. "I knew he'd just swigged from the bottle," Calum later said. "And it was like, fuck. I wanted to give up completely." That moment shattered him. His dad's relapse marked the beginning of Calum's own descent into addiction, rage, and emotional chaos. He didn't just lose a father to alcoholism, he almost lost himself. But this wasn't even the darkest chapter. Because just a few years later, Calum would go from grieving son to reality TV's newest wild child. Fresh off the emotional wreckage of his father's death in 2005, Calum Best stepped into the spotlight on Celebrity Love Island and instantly became a tabloid magnet. He wasn't just another contestant. He was the grieving son of a football legend, masking pain with charm, abs, and attention. Audiences couldn't look away, and when he won the show alongside Bianca Gascoigne, the press had a field day. Two children of troubled stars, thrown into a whirlwind romance under the cameras. But behind the scenes, it wasn't exactly a fairy tale. The relationship fizzled fast, and Calum's reputation was only heating up. Paparazzi loved him. So did women. But this fame wasn't built on talent. It was built on chaos, and Calum was about to lean all the way in. Because what came next wasn't just dating drama. It was full-on celebrity scandal. By 2006, Calum Best wasn't just UK famous anymore. He had Hollywood in his sights. And who better to catapult him there than Lindsay Lohan, the wild child of American pop culture? At the height of her Mean Girls fame, Lindsay and Calum became an explosive couple. On the surface, it was a celebrity power match. Behind the scenes, it was chaos on steroids. Calum later admitted they were combustible. Both loved to party. Neither wanted to slow down. And when Lindsay dumped him for allegedly flirting with other women, the media had a field day. But this wasn't a one-time mess. Calum's romantic disasters kept piling up. From Sarah Harding to Kimberly Stewart, from glamour models to reality stars, every relationship ended in headlines. And just when people thought they'd seen it all, a sex tape dropped in 2017, right in the middle of his celebrity Big Brother stint. But even that wasn't the biggest scandal tied to his name. Because suddenly, rumors started swirling that Calum had secretly fathered a child and didn't want anything to do with her. While the public watched Calum spiral through headlines, reality shows, and women, few knew the truth. He was unraveling. In 2015, a woman named Lorna Hogan dropped a bombshell. She claimed Calum Best had fathered her daughter and walked away. She said the child was conceived the day before George Best's memorial and that Calum refused to take a paternity test. The headlines were brutal. Lorna told the press, "All my daughter can say is that she doesn't know him, and he doesn't want anything to do with her. It's heartbreaking." The public turned on Calum. He stayed mostly silent until 2017, when he finally responded on X. He wrote, "Did a paternity test to clear the child wasn't mine. Bless. A single line, no details, no receipts. Just enough to raise more questions than it answered. Was it true? Was it damage control? Some believed him. Others didn't. And while the love child claim faded from the front pages, it left a stain Calum couldn't quite shake. But the real story wasn't just about one accusation, because during all this chaos, Calum was fighting a war with himself. One that mirrored his father's in more ways than he ever wanted to admit. In a brutally honest interview, Calum admitted what most celebs never would. I get drunk, I get high on coke, I do stupid, debauched things with the wrong women. I'm addicted to sex. This wasn't a PR stunt or a redemptive confession. It was a man cracking under pressure, repeating the very cycle he watched destroy his father. George Best's alcoholism had already left scars. Calum described moments of demonic anger toward his dad. But somehow he ended up chasing the same bottle, the same chaos, the same self-destruction. By 2007, Calum's life wasn't just messy. It was dangerous. Partying turned to numbing. Numbing turned to addiction. And the fame that once boosted him? It became a trap, making it harder to stop. But here's the thing. He didn't give up. Not then. Not when everyone expected him to. What came next surprised everyone. Because Calum didn't just survive. He started to fight back. For most people, hitting rock bottom is the end of the story. For Calum Best, it was the start of something else. Reality TV, once a playground for his worst impulses, became his second chance. He jumped back into the spotlight with shows like Celebrity X on the Beach, Celebs Go Dating, and Famously Single. But this time, it wasn't just about drama. It was about change. Calum opened up. He talked about grief, addiction, his broken relationship with his father. He even said, "If I can't find a fucking missus in my private life, then I'm going to try elsewhere." It was raw, messy, and maybe even a little desperate. But it was real. And strangely, that vulnerability made people root for him again. He wasn't the party boy anymore. He was the guy trying to rebuild piece by piece. Then came the business. Ventures, fitness, philanthropy. He got serious about working out, became chairman of a women's football team, started a crystal jewelry line. He even took up a cause close to home, helping children of alcoholics, just like he had once been. But just when it looked like Calum had finally escaped the chaos, one final accusation threatened to drag it all back down. Just when it seemed like Calum Best had turned a corner, his name exploded back into headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. In January 2024, Calum was accused of sexually assaulting a British tourist at Wayne Lineker's infamous Ibiza Beach club. The allegation? That he forced the woman's hand down his shorts. It was the kind of scandal that could destroy everything he'd worked to rebuild. Calum didn't say much publicly, but the court case that followed was brutal. The prosecution claimed misconduct. Calum maintained his innocence. And then, a twist. The judges threw the case out. They cited lack of evidence, no corroborating witnesses, and serious holes in the accuser's story. In the end, the verdict was clear. Calum was acquitted. He broke his silence with one sentence posted to Instagram. "The truth prevails. I have been acquitted and won my case." No rants, no press tours. Just a quiet, pointed message, set against a calm lake and rolling hills. It was the kind of ending nobody expected. But the question still lingered. Had Calum finally escaped the chaos? Or was he just better at controlling it? Today, Calum Best is almost unrecognizable from the wild child who once dominated tabloid covers. The reality TV chaos, the addictions, the endless headlines, they're not gone, but they've faded into something new. He's traded nightclubs for the gym, scandals for charity work. He's now the chairman of the Dorking Wanderers FC Women's team and leads the National Association for Children of Alcoholics, A full-circle moment for the boy once haunted by his father's demons. Even his jewelry brand, Aura by Calum, reflects the reinvention. Crystals, healing, balance. It's a far cry from the sex tape scandals and coke-fueled headlines of the past. But reinvention doesn't erase history. There are still whispers, rumors, skepticism. Some people say he's finally grown up. Others think he's just gotten better at managing the image. And maybe that's the truth about Calum Best. He's not the hero, not the villain. He's the survivor. And his story still being written. Fame gave Calum Best everything. Money, women, cameras, influence. But it also took things he never got back. A normal childhood, peace of mind, and the chance to grow up away from the world's judgment. From being George Best's son to becoming a headline magnate in his own right, Calum's life has been anything but ordinary. He wasn't just born into the spotlight, he was shaped by it, and sometimes nearly destroyed by it. Now, after 2 decades of chaos, reinvention, and public scrutiny, Calum stands at a strange crossroads. He's a man who's been forgiven, forgotten, and rewatched 1,000 times over. Not quite famous, not quite invisible. The scandals may have quieted, but the past never really disappears. So the real question isn't whether Calum Best will fade out or make a final comeback. It's whether he's finally found peace in a life that's never let him rest.